Okay, today we're going to look at what Maui teaches us about the kind of warning we'll get from the government. In Maui, the people received literally no warning that they were in danger from these wildfires. And because of that, as at this moment, there's 99 confirmed dead, and there'd probably be well over 100 by the time they comb through all the wreckage and the ashes. So why did Maui not warn the people? And why will we be in a similar situation should we be facing an imminent nuclear attack? I will be talking about. And also we'll talk about why we need to not depend on the government for our own safety, and what signs that we are under a nuclear attack to look out for. Both, and also the signs that we are in, a threat of that happening real soon. So, Maui. They have 80 sirens. I've lived in Maui. I lived in Kihei for well over a year, so I remember them testing the sirens every month. But they didn't use the sirens to warn anybody that they were in grave danger. The excuse said, well, people would think there were tsunamis and they'd run inland. No, they could see the glowing in the sky and the flame and the smoke. They would figure it had to do with fires. People aren't as stupid as you think, and if some are, well, they'll soon find out. And in any case, you're better off warning people, and even if some make some mistake, and responding to that warning is better than nobody being warned and everybody being caught out and having to, oh my God, the flames are running down the street. They're surrounding me. They're all around me. What am I supposed to do now? I'm going to have to try and get out. I'll end up being trapped on the road and being roasted alive in your cars. Other thing they did, they were supposed to be using cell phones alerts. Remember that false alarm about a nuclear attack, and the thing screeched off and gave the warning, and of course later on they find out there was nothing there. This time they didn't do that. They didn't send a screeching, hello, you're in imminent danger, get out, evacuate now. No, they put out some pretty lame little regular text, no alert like you have an Amber Alert or emergency, just regular text saying, hey, there's some wildfire warnings and high wind warnings, but, it didn't give a sense of urgency that people needed to act on this. No. By the time they realized that things are totally out of control, the fires had burned through the communications lines and power lines. There was no power. Cell phones weren't working. TVs weren't working. Radio, unless you had a transistor radio. How many people still have one of those? You're a sweet out of luck as far as getting any information as what you do. And again, the sirens didn't go off, and probably by the time they decided, well, maybe we should do something about it, I'm sure their power is gone too. Which also shows you that the cell phone system, certainly in Maui, was not as resilient as you were led to believe. Whereas they're in now. People were not warned. So why was that? Well, they go on, they dithered, classic committee stuff. We didn't realize it would move so fast. I mean, this wildfire, we had to, hello. We have plenty of experience as a human race with wildfires. We have them in California all the time. We have them in Canada all the time. In Europe, we know, and of course Australia, which is pretty well burned to the ground for the most part. We have plenty of experiences how fast these things go, how they can flare up, how embers can be carried along by the wind and jump and start a fire behind you. We know all about that. So that's no excuse. This is pretty lame. So we're talking about bureaucratic dithering, maybe not wanting to cause a premature panic, overcautious, stuff like that. And at the end of the day, 99 people for sure died, and probably a lot more than that when, like I said, as they comb through the wreckage. So, looking forward, imminent nuclear attack. Will we be warned? Well, given the kind of dithering these guys, given FEMA's track record, and of course other countries' equivalents thereof. I mean, I'm sure in Canada we're not exactly brilliant at this sort of stuff either, and I'm sure the British aren't either. So, but assuming they're all, again, bureaucratic committees by people who haven't really had to deal with imminent emergencies, there'll be a lot of dithering. They'll say, is this real? Is this attack really happening? We should wait to hear what the military has to say. Let's not have a premature panic. What happened in Hawaii when we set off that alert? And they'll dither away until the missiles start exploding. Well, or, even worse, they say, Well, we don't want to cause a panic. We want to make sure we can evacuate our people, the government, key government personnel, and make sure our billionaire friends all can get to their bunkers without being stuck in traffic. So we're not going to tell anybody until we're safe and our billionaire friends are safe. Now, that is certainly an option. After all, the whole purpose of the government plans for nuclear war is self-preservation, the continuity planning. They have very little plans to help us at all in any way, shape, or form. Essentially, you're on your own. Again, you are on your own. Or things could happen so fast that by the time you do make a decision, the Chinese or the Russians, whoever is at war we're at war with, sets off some high altitude nuclear burst to create electromagnetic pulse that fries out all electronics. So when they finally decide to warn us, it's too late. Our cell phones aren't working, our radios aren't working, our cars aren't working, nothing is working. Then what? And then even if they do get a warning out, it may be too late to really do anything meaningful. What's people's impulse? Well, they'll either do nothing, they'll just be paralyzed and piss themselves like that woman in the movie Threads, or they'll hit the road instinctively, go in their cars, try and drive out, and then what's going to happen? Just like in Maui, they're going to die in their cars. They're going to be caught in gridlock. In Maui, one of the roads was closed out of Lahaina. There was only one road left. People were stuck in there, and people stayed there rather than leaving their cars, trying to get into the water or run along the shoreline. They stayed there until they were roasted alive. I guess that's instinct. We feel kind of safe and secure in our cars. Well, the same thing will happen in a nuclear war. You're going to be caught in gridlock trying to get out. The nuke's going to go off. At worst, your cars are going to be blowing off the road, and you're going to be all die in that thing as you go bouncing down the hillside somewhere, or worse yet, maybe, is that you're going to be caught out when the fallout's falling, and a car provides almost no protection against. You will get a lethal dose probably inside an hour, and then you die a horrible, slow death. So that's not a thing. And of course, just like in the Hawaii, when they had that false alarm that said, take cover, nuclear strike imminent in a matter of minutes, they gave no advice as what people were supposed to do. And people don't know what they're supposed to do. Unless you watch this channel or other prepper channels that talk about nuclear survival, you will not know what to do. And then even if you manage to survive the initial blast, you'll end up dying from fallout because you don't know enough to take cover, just like that couple in the animation As the Wind Blows. They survive the blast, but then they end up dying a horrible death from radiation sickness. So it behooves you to know what to do, to know the signs that we are going to have a nuclear war, or there is one in progress, and respond immediately. So if there's a lead up to the war, like say the NATO and Russian Federation are shooting at each other, or NATO and the Chinese are shooting at each other over Taiwan, that means it will escalate. It will not stay conventional for long. As soon as one side starts losing, the nukes are going to start flying. First, it's going to be tactical. But then the tactical will escalate. In fact, if you want to know about that, there's a concept called escalate to de-escalate, which is totally false because it'll just escalate to re-escalate rather. And I did a good video simulation on that, and with the title Escalate to De-escalate. So pretty soon it'll be nuclear. It could be in a matter of hours, could be in a matter of days, maybe even a couple of weeks, but it will. It's time to head out of Dodge if you can. You figure there's maybe a slow escalation, take your chances, try and get on an airplane, try and avoid changing planes anywhere in North America or Europe. By that I mean Canada and the United States, and try and get south, as far south as you can. If you can't, or you don't think you have enough time, at least get into the hills. Beforehand prepare by looking at what the fallout patterns are going to do. Usually the nuclear war simulator, pick the time of the years to see where the fallout patterns are going to be, or the nuke map with the actual wind, see where the fallout's going to be, and avoid those fallout areas. Get into the mountains if you can, remote areas. Or if you don't have that much time, at least load up your car with not water, non-perishables and stuff like that. Find a deep parkade somewhere to hunker down. That's the expedient thing to do in order to survive. So that is with a lead up, and you can try and figure how much time you have before things go south, and plan accordingly. Now, if it's all of a sudden, I mean, first sign could be from the EMP strike. I mean, here you have it. My cell phone doesn't work at all. It's not like I lost a signal; it just won't even power up. My car, or at least some cars have died. The power is out. Well, at this point, I would try and find a deep parkade as fast as possible. I have a like an emergency pack in the trunk of each of our cars. So my wife and I would just know enough to go to, the deepest parkade or deepest big office building sub basement that we can find. And then we've done reconnaissance to find out what the good places are around where our routes are, and do that. Of course, it could be even worse. The first inkling is you see that shooting star coming towards your city. Well, in any case, hit the dirt because that thing's going to explode. Try and get something between you and where you think this thing is going to land, and wait for the blast to go out and come back, and then find shelter because you've got maybe 10 or 15 minutes before the fallout starts. Now, if you see a flash, remember the nuclear bombs have two flashes. This quick millisecond flash, turn away from it and hit the dirt, because the next thing is going to be is a thermal pulse. If you're too close, you can end up with third-degree burns or second-degree burns, and you don't want that. You certainly don't want flash blindness. Resist the impulse to look at it. Now wait again for the outward blast to flow out and the inward blast to come back in, because of the vacuum, it creates a suction going back in, and then find cover from the fallout. These are what you need to do. You need to have a kit with enough food and water to at least last you 3 days, because after that, the radiation will be low enough you could do some quick scavenging, and that's easy enough to carry in a small day pack. Be aware of the signs. Be always aware of where you would go if all of a sudden something happened. Again, that proactive preparation. I've done a whole series of videos on nuclear survival and surviving the blast and whatnot and the fallout, and how I'm trying to find what makes a good parkade and whatnot. So again, don't trust the government to warn you. Even if they have the best intentions, they may not. Things may happen so fast they can't warn you properly. But I doubt if the government has our best intentions. They're all about themselves and their own continuity, and avoiding panic and maintaining control. Sad to say, but there it is. So before we finish off this video, I do want to ask for you to give a quick moment of silence for the victims of the Maui Wildfire. And basically stay tuned, subscribe if you want information on how to survive a nuclear war, and how to, what the risks are that we're going to have one, and how to see it coming. And so do comment below, and bye for now.